Well, so much for 1974. Now we go to 1975, and let's talk about the Dodgers first of all, Boyd. I think the ball club still has to have another good starting pitcher.
I think so. They had an injury last year to Tommy John, and they're very uncertain as to how he is going to come back. And Andy Messersmith tapered off a bit at the end of the year. They could use another pitcher.
Oh my God. There he is.
Boyd Matson, it's only been 46 years since we got together, huh? Hi, everybody. Well, we're going to have fun today because we've got an old friend standing by to be our guest. When I left Oklahoma City in 1966 to come to Los Angeles, I became the weekend sports anchor at KNBC, Channel 4 in LA. Well, a year and a half. And then I moved to the 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock news weekdays and weeknights. So after that, there were several fellows who came in who took over the weekend sports anchor job. Mike Casaya was first. Then my good friend, former Laker Tommy Hawkins. After that, they said there's a young man in the East who's never been on television. He's going to come out and be the weekend sports anchor. Teach him what you know. He did okay. His name, Bryant Gumbel. But before Bryant got there, there was this tall, good-looking young man who had been in Oklahoma City at the same time I had been, but he left Oklahoma and came out here eventually. And today it's a great chance for us to see him for the first time since, I believe, 1976. Boyd Matson is going to be our guest here. And Boyd, it's great to see you, and what a terrific career you've had.
Ross, thank you for having me on the show. It's great to see you, to reconnect after all these years. I'd gotten out of college. I went to college in Oklahoma City.
I know you.
Anthony Nazarene College, and then I had come back to Fort Worth, where I finished high school in this area, and was the sports director here. And I just randomly sent out tapes to LA because I had a bunch of friends in LA and I wanted to live out there more than anything particular about the station. I had been in California covering the Cowboys in training camp at Thousand Oaks that summer.
Yeah.
And I just randomly sent a tape to KNBC because I was working for NBC in Texas at this point. I wanted to work for NBC, but I wanted to move to LA. I don't know how they knew that I didn't send that information. I'm at the airport getting ready to fly home to Texas because I got to do sports on Monday. I've been out there a week in training camp.
Yeah.
I'm in the airport and I see paging Boyd Matson to come to the phone. I don't know how I never found out how the station found out. I go to the phone. They say, this was whoever it was at KNBC who was in charge of hiring the sports person. And he said, we saw your tape. We'd like to talk to you about a job as the weekend sports anchor. Can you come by Monday? And I said, I've got to be back in Texas, but I could come next weekend. I'll just turn around and fly back. You guys fly me back out. So they did. I flew home, did the sports for a week, flew back out, and they offered me the job because in those days, sports was actually under NBC News. I was hired technically by the network news to come work and do the weekend sports. And that's how I ended up there randomly.
What do you remember about meeting me for the first time? And what did we talk about?
I was so intimidated because I knew your reputation and how good you were and how detailed. And I was kind of casual, Ross. I had a ring on every finger. I wore necklaces. I had these big polyester multicolored suits, platform shoes, and a shoulder bag that I wore. I was 20, whatever I was, 4 or 5 years old, coming to LA, and you were very dressed properly in a suit and detailed, and I kind of winged it. So I was so concerned with getting it right. And you called me after the first sportscast and congratulated me for doing a good job, and I just wanted to pass out. And I also remember on the show, we used to have guest live interviews on the news. Yeah. Billy Graham was in town, and he was the live guest that show. And I went up to him before the show and I said, this is my first sports cast in LA and I'm a little nervous. Say a little prayer for me, would you? I asked Billy Graham to pray for me before.
Oh, that's great. That's terrific. Yeah.
That's what I remember about that first newscast.
What about some of your sports assignments at Channel 4 in LA? Any of them stick out in your mind? Interviews, games?
I remember the first, so you sent me out to cover the Rams at their training camp before the season began. I went out and, or maybe, no, I guess it wasn't training. It was just their practice. And I went out one day, and as I mentioned, I wore platform shoes and carried this big shoulder bag on one side. And the person I went out with, Chuck Knox was the coach.
Yeah.
And the person I went out with as the camera person was a woman, camera woman.
Wow.
And Chuck Knox, as he sees me walking across, he said, "This is what we've come to. The guy's wearing the purse and the woman's carrying the camera."
That's great.
But you did let me kind of do these odd stories. So I credited you. I didn't just have to do the normal reporting on who won and who lost, and interview players. So you let me do the things like Mike Love and the Beach Boys with Stan Love, the basketball player, or do a thing on oddball sneakers, and gave a freedom. And so I was really appreciative that everybody didn't have to do it like you did it. You just wanted something that would be interesting for the audience.
Our next show coming up with Boyd will be my only movie appearance in my career. No cameo, audio only. Boyd made it possible, and that'll be coming up when we chat again. Boyd, great to see you. Thanks for being with us today.
Great to see you and catch up.
Time for the fans, but it is suck it up time for the players because they have to score on this drive.
Seth Maxwell fakes hands off instead to Andy Balford, and Balford is stacked up for a 3-yard loss by Alcee Weeks. Boy, they haven't kept Weeks out of there all night.
He has been in that backfield all day. They should give him a uniform the way he plays in the North Dallas backfield.
It'll be a 3-yard loss back to